Today we've got an exclusive first look at the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, as well as news on its upgrades, so hit subscribe now and we'll get right into it. So it's not been long since the predecessor launched, and then we just saw the special edition with larger displays and a thinner shell, but thanks to information provided from a source that wants to remain anonymous, we've now got plenty of information about the Z Fold 7. Now, it seems that there were a few prototypes for the design, but according to the source, Samsung will be keeping the Fold design quite similar to what it is now, with just a slight change to the form factor. Now, the S series is switching to a more rounded design, but it's looking like the Fold is going to remain with this squared off design. Now, I think this is a good move as it differentiates the two models from each other, and it leaves the S phones to take their market, and the larger Samsungs have always remained a bit more squared off, as we used to see this with the Note before it was discontinued. AI is still going to be playing a huge part in terms of promotion for the Z Fold 7, and Samsung are continuing to add AI features, but there's a very good chance that the launch of the Z Fold 7 is where we're going to start to see the paid subscription model for AI that Samsung have already warned us of. Now, the phone is going to be powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 and is expected to come with 16GB of RAM and the usual storage configurations, but the biggest change with the Z Fold 7 is going to be in the cameras. Now, for the first time ever, we're going to see under-display cameras on the cover display as well as the folding internal display due to improvements in the under-panel technology, and it's reported that they're now plenty good enough for face unlock and video calls, and of course for very high resolution selfies, the kind that you'd maybe put on Instagram, you can still use the external rear camera. Now, for the rear cameras, it's going to be using the same setup as the S25 Plus that's being launched in January, and it's made up of a 50 megapixel primary camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide and a 10 megapixel telephoto, so pretty much a similar setup to last year, although there are going to be some improvements to both the ultra wide and the telephoto. Now, another big upgrade with the Z Fold 7 as always is the display, and while it will be a brighter and more accurate display on both the cover and the internal display, the biggest change is going to be with the Fold. The crease on the Z Fold series has been improving year upon year, but it's not as good as we've seen on some other devices, but thankfully that's all set to change. Now, thanks to a new display protection and a modified hinge, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is reportedly going to completely eliminate that crease while still retaining its water resistance, but as always with this kind of news, I'll believe it when I see it. So now onto the design, and here are the renders based on the information that I've been supplied from the source who wants to remain anonymous, but it's the same person that gave me information on the Pixel 9 Fold design back in February, which was 7 months ahead of its launch. But according to the information, the Z Fold 7 design remains quite similar to its predecessor, but the display is slightly wider again, and personally I think it's now looking like the perfect size. We've now got an under-panel camera on both the internal folding display as well as the cover display to give both screens a full screen display, and then we've also got some changes to the rear. There reportedly isn't going to be any raised camera module on the rear, and it's just going to have the lenses protruding from the rear panel, and it looks a bit of a hybrid design between the Z Fold 6 and the S24 Ultra. Now, personally, I'm not really a fan of these new camera rings though, and I preferred the slimmer rings that we used to have in the past, but I'll reserve judgment until I see it in person. Now, of course, we're still at the early stages at the moment, so designs can change, but this gives us a good idea of what the new Z Fold 7 is going to look like. Now, for those of you excited for the new Galaxy Z Fold 7 though, I'm now going to run through the specs, design and the expected pricing to help you guys decide if it is worth the wait, so make sure you hit subscribe now and we'll get right into it. So with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, we get a 7.7-inch foldable 120Hz dynamic AMOLED display. It's expected to be brighter and more accurate than the predecessor's display, and is protected by Samsung's latest ultra-thin glass with no creasing in the center of the display. We get the usual HD resolution along with some trimmed down bezels and a full screen display. Now, for the external display, it's a full screen 6.4-inch 120Hz dynamic AMOLED display. Again, we're getting improvements to brightness as well as the color accuracy, and it's also going to be even wider than its predecessor, which is great news to hear. We'll be getting S Pen support for both the displays, but the S Pen is not going to be housed inside the Z Fold 7 and it will be sold separately. When it comes to cameras, it's reportedly going to be the first Fold with dual under-panel cameras, and the exact sensors are unknown at the moment, but we expect it to be another 4 megapixel under-panel camera to assist with the light capture. Now, over on the rear, it's a triple camera setup consisting of a 50 megapixel primary camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide and a 10 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and it's a similar camera system to the predecessor, although there are going to be some improvements to the ultra wide and the telephoto camera. It's going to be powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4, coupled with 16GB of RAM and up to 1TB of storage, which is going to be at UFS 4.1. It's coming with a 4500 mAh battery with upgrades to fast charging for both wired and wireless charging, and we're getting 5G, Bluetooth 5.3, Wi-Fi 7 and NFC support, and the phone is going to ship with One UI 7 based on Android 15. Now it's shipping in July 2025 and it's expected to start from around $1,900, and that's going to be about £1,800 for the UK. So overall, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 is looking like a great device with the usual upgrades and changes, but if Samsung really can perfect the display and not only make it brighter but also get rid of that creasing in the center, then in my opinion it's going to be the perfect foldable phone. Now from the comments, it seems that most people want to see an upgrade to the camera system to something like a 200 megapixel primary camera, but it just doesn't look like that's ever going to happen due to internal space and cost. Now given the similarities to its predecessor though, it's probably not going to make anyone with a Fold 6 rush for an upgrade unless there's absolutely no crease in the center of that display. But for anyone with an early generation Fold or someone looking to get their first Fold, then it's going to be a great choice. Now of course, launch is still a long way away, but a lot can still change between now and then. And of course, as soon as any information comes in, I'm going to be sharing it straight away, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing in the future.